Hello and welcome back to The Front Row, a minor production of the First Congregational Church in South Pekin, where our intent is to bring snippets from our Sunday morning message into your week. We are continuing our message on the key, and I've got 5 practical applications that will help us in this process of living an unoffendable life, because it's difficult. There are natural emotions and responses that we need to learn to deal with. And the first practical application, thing that we can learn, a way that we can enter into this life, is to embrace the process of maturity. Maturity is a process, is it not? It takes time, it takes experience, it takes increasing knowledge, it takes a growth that happens over time. It is a process. Now, you may have heard someone referred to that's wise beyond their years as an old soul. Well, they may have advanced in their maturity beyond their chronological age. So chronological age and maturity do not equate to one another very often. You can have someone who's in their 7th and 8th decade of life that is very immature, and you can have someone that is early in their journey that comes across as very mature. It just depends on how we wrestle with this process of maturity, how seriously we take the call to grow up. And now that is not just a man-made, designed way to move society ahead. That's not just mom and dad saying, hey, grow up, Junior. There's not a selfish motivation in this. There's a very biblical charge and call for us to grow up. Now, there are a couple scriptures that I want to refer us to. The first is out of 1 Peter chapter 2, where we are called to get rid of all malice and deceit, hypocrisy, envy, and slander of every kind, and like newborn babies, crave pure spiritual milk, so that by it you may grow up in your salvation, now that you have tasted that the Lord is good. So this is written to young disciples of Christ, young Christians that are just getting into the faith. And there's an appreciation that there's a growth process that needs to happen. You start off with pure spiritual milk, like a newborn babe, but then you would grow up in your salvation. The expectation is being set here by Peter, that we would grow up, that we would mature. In Hebrews chapter 5, the writer of Hebrews is saying, we have a lot to say about this, but it's hard to make it clear to you because you no longer try to understand. You're not even trying to understand the depth and the richness of what we're trying to teach you. And he goes on, in fact, though by this time you ought to be teachers, you need someone to teach you the elementary truths of God's word all over again. You need milk, not solid food. Anyone who lives on milk, still being an infant, is not acquainted with the teaching about righteousness, but solid food is for the mature, who by constant use have trained themselves to distinguish good from evil. Our spiritual development is a maturing process that we are called to. And here the writer of Hebrews says that comes through constant use and training of ourselves. And one of the ways that we lean into living an unoffended life is we embrace the process of maturity. That this is on us to constantly lean into it, to train ourselves, to grow up in the faith. It's not an easy process, this thing called maturity. It's a whole lot easier to remain an infant and let other people take care of us. But that's not what we're called to as followers of Christ, as believers in the way. We are called to embrace the process of maturity. I hope you'll come back and join us as we unpack the other 4 practical ways that we can lean into living an unoffended life. Have a fantastic rest of your day. Bye-bye for now.